Welcome back, audience. Welcome back to my casual Friday. A little bit of cervecita. I got a good one for you tonight. I talked a little bit about this before, but I want to talk more in detail because, like, there's. I just watched this interview with Professor Zhang on Theo Von podcast, and he described geopolitics and the motivation of that motion of like everybody's like in line with that will, and like he said, the will of God, right? So this whole greater Israel project, like the war with Iran, everything is just like a part of that motion, and it's driven originally by the belief in God. Do you understand? And why it's happening? It's because it has a momentum, and every person that believes in God and to create the will of God externally is contributing to this motion of this like war, dysfunction, degeneration. Like it's that machine, that the war machine, the conflict machine, the strife machine. It's the fucking matrix machine, right? It's run on belief in God. Everybody who fear God, believe in God, try to work on the will of God. And that will of God, of course, it's a belief system, and that's actually, the worst thing that you could do, reasonably and rationally. You understand? And of course, that relates to what I keep talking about consciousness movement. It's like, are you moving away from fear or towards the fear? And so there's this either holistic way of life or the matrix way of life. And you see, it really is like that. There's either a holistic way of life or the matrix way of life. Those two forces. And so this Professor Jiang described that process really well, of like the symptom of the process. But then when I was listening, I realized that, okay, this is the same motion that I'm talking about. It's the same motion of consciousness. Now, and that is like you trying to impose the will of God externally. Okay? That's when you enter this altars of strife. This is where your life is kind of shit, and it's always, you gotta keep on fighting and stuff like that, because you're trying to impose the will of God. Through the belief in God. Okay? It's very freaking important to understand. That's what makes you an NPC, by the way. Belief in God. Because belief in God is the opposite of being with God. The motion of consciousness internally of the individual that is with God is seeking the most negative thing inside and working on that. And the most positive thing outside and working on that. Whereas the matrix way is the opposite. The most positive thing inside, just pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And the most negative thing outside. Look at all these people. They are miserable. I'm doing the will of God. It's important. I have to do this. But they're fucking miserable. They're not happy. But they get pleasure. You see? They get pleasure from it, and that's the only thing that pacifies that pain that they live in. And so there's that motion, the pain-pleasure motion of consciousness. So you see how you have to actually flip. This is why I'm so categorical sometimes, and people, and I'm not criticizing, narcissist, empath, secret societies, the dark side of CIA and all those different things. I'm not picking on one particular one. I'm saying all of them is wrong motion of consciousness. Okay? But what does that mean? Do you go out there and try to stop it? Because if you go out there and try to stop it, what they're doing, you're part of it. Because now you are trying to do, you're trying to do the will of God. Because the God would stop that horrific thing from happening. And so then that's how that process, you see, you get caught in it. Hopefully it's making sense. Like, I had like a lot of relief, and I'm still processing this freaking realization. Because fuck, I also was caught by this idea of doing the will of God kind of thing, you know? Jesus fucking Christ. So, that's why I have this allergic reaction. Almost not anymore that much, but this is because internal alchemy, external discipline. And external discipline does not mean that you have to like beat yourself up or put yourself in a situation that is really hard. No. Externally, you put yourself in the best possible situation. On top of the mountain, on top of the canyon, where I used to live, by the way. And will again. And maybe by some beautiful lake or some mountains. We'll see. That's where you gotta live, where you feel the best outside of you, like just obnoxiously easy life. You know, like extremely obnoxiously easy life, like, you know, like how I live now. But that even then I can say that like it can get better. And if I choose here the best shit that's happening here, and don't pay attention to the worst shit that's happening here, I am gonna have a good time. But to do that, I have to face the most negative thing inside of me. And I made this video talking about between the negative inside and the positive outside is where you will find that point of alchemical dissolution. It's like, it's how you become really good at this moving internally in that way. Okay? And if you do that at the core, because what that energy at the core in your heart does, it spins. Okay? And it spins in one particular direction. And so you have one pointing towards external, okay? And one pointing towards internal. The right side has to point the internal, and the right side has to point the external. The lens must be facing the right way. So you see that you either flipping the lens like that or like this. It is not like a little bit, it is a total change in opposite. Like you can move your consciousness this way or flip and move it that way. Everything you do on this side does not matter how good you're trying to do, if it's going to be fucking backwards and bullshit. Poof. Everything here is going to be perfect and nice. And then what happens is that internal alchemy and external discipline to making your life as easy as possible. The more externally your life is easier and everything's taken care of, the more you can put attention internally and do your alchemy better. Do you see? That's the life of a king. Kings don't live like, you know, the modern kings. Kings live in the most luxurious way because they can put the most attention internally. And so they actually do the hardest work. You see? I like to live like a king. I have people helping me out. Sometimes they make food for me. Sometimes they bring food to my bed. I have massages here. I have podcasts here. I have people dancing here. I got the best shit of everything happening, you know, around me. Obnoxiously, you know, easy and good life. Now, of course, that's not to say that's all I do. That I do the effort part as well, because I recognize that is also important. You know, I don't get fat and lazy. I just balance it out. The balance between the couch potato and the, you know, the muscle head, you know, or like a, I don't want to say gym rat, but the gym rat and the couch potato balance. There's like that middle there that feels really good, you know. Because I consider like easy life and a good life is the one that you can afford to do some exercise and and some activity, some physical activity and whatnot. That's the luxury, that you just move your body for fun, not because of work. You see, a lot of people just move their body and move bricks so they can get paid, but you're just doing it for fun. it's, it's actually a bit of an kind of an insult. um, but don't be surprised if they get jelly. Okay, that's not of your concern. I like to make people, I don't like to make people jelly, but if they're getting jelly, then I must be doing something right. It's almost like a proof, you know. So there, if you're listening to me, and I know that like if you're listening to me, you must be loyal to this energy that I'm, representing, because it does really make people either this way or that way. To see what I'm trying to say? This energy flows in the opposite direction. If you don't flow in this direction, it does not matter what you do. If you're trying to help people, try to make all sorts of videos and talk about this, like create all sorts of belief system for people that help you, you're still part of the fucking shit machine. And your attention, your energy is flowing like, okay, I gotta do something externally, and that you derive pleasure from that. Like, everything's external. And that includes like, oh, I'm gonna get gratification and I'm gonna get people, supporting me. And so that jolt of dopamine, poof, external pleasure, vanity driven. And that's normalized as like, no, I'm sorry. This is why I cut off, not that I'm trying to change them, not I let all of that process that they're doing, everything. And that's one of the biggest lessons here, is that you cannot possibly put all of your attention inside on the most negative thing that you got to take care of, and then the most positive outside. You cannot do that without, drum rolls please, without stopping that crap, without stopping trying to change people, without trying to stop that the worst thing that's happening outside of you from happening. You understand? Like actively trying to be engaged. I don't mean when it happens in your personal life. The rule is to always be the most safe, the best, the easiest way. Like you protect yourself. If shit happens, like if there's a personal threat, you handle it. It does not mean like in the same sense. You understand? But you're not actively trying to do the will of God, because the will of God and the belief of God is ego. I said that before. The belief in God is the root of all evil. Being with God is the opposite of believing in God. You understand? And sometimes people because like, do you believe in God? And they say, yeah, but they really mean they are being with God. This is very important to distinguish those two camps. Actually, it's not important to distinguish those two camps, because you feel it energetically. So when Theo Von says, I believe in God, I know he's not a religious fanatic. I know that he's not doing the will of God. He's doing his soul will, which is just have the most fun, meet the most interesting people, and have the most fun possible, and create as much cheer as possible. And the same thing with Jian. You can see that these are people who have souls, that they are being with God. They're not believing in God. and neither of them like some religious nuts or anything like that, or like none of that, like, right? They're not sectarian at all. They're seemingly independent from all that stuff. They're talking about how that is actually, the root of all evil. So, but then, and he distinguished very clearly, said like, they don't believe in God the same way we do. And he meant that we're actually facing our crap. And both of them went through crap, and both of them had to face it. See, that's the real person. That's how the most realist nigga out there is this. Not this pretentious motherfucker with the long ass beard and this turban, babbling, about nonsense. That is not spirituality. Spirituality is not visible. It's just life. It's happening. And you value the spirit that you get after the facing the internal crap. So there's that motion of consciousness. And by definition, outside of you, you're not going to seek the difficult situations. You're going to feel the safest place on the planet, immune to all of these types of conflicts, which is, by the way, that's why I'm building a sustainable village in the jungle. That's my project. That's my pet project. Essentially to have like agroforestry project that grows, the most biodiverse food and with the maximum yield capacity within one area of land, and using all sorts of technology, the best freaking possible ingenuity of how to do this, the best technology, the best know-how, the best systems, the best everything, to have the technology work with the nature to produce the most abundance and the most varied abundance. The herb, the all sorts of herbs, all sorts of medicinal plants, everything growing under one place, like a big botanical garden that you grow whatever, and they're all grow in the communion and in collaboration and symphony. This is my dream. Like this thing, I look at this jungle and say, fuck, like it's almost ready to have that little paradise bubble. That's how I see this place. That's why I bought so much land here, because I think it's the most valuable thing in the world. Most valuable thing in the world is to have that little paradise bubble, real paradise where everything is in harmony right around you. The fish in the laguna, the water that they fertilize, you use that water to fertilize the plants, right? The plants grow, they produce all sorts of things. That's a food for fish, the rest for you, the rest for animals. Everything in one place in this complete ecology and the maximum variety. That's why I want to, like, instead of cows, I want to have like keep deer here, not cows. And people already doing that, and then I've seen everything already done here. So that's why I'm saying, like, whoa, that person does this person does here, does this, like, oh, everything's already done here. All I have to do is just pick all of those best parts and put it all in one village. Fuck, maybe I'll even bring the same people. Like if this takes off, it's the people that I saw they're doing, because there's a guy who really grows cattle on 1 hectare of land, and the way I was like, fuck, this is, and he just like once a day walks the animals from one place to another, and then he told me about like the yield of meat, and I was like, fuck, okay, that's very little work, so much, now of course all sorts of labor work is involved, but come on, it's not expensive. Not expensive at all. Plus, if you can automate things even more, now everything is so automated. So if you can use technology that moves cows from one place to another and self-cleans the entire system, and you see what I'm trying to say, then integrate it well with nature, then there's very little maintenance. Then you just maintain the system. You don't even do the labor anymore. And with all these robots and drones that are now being invented, that's the best use for them. That's the best, the most valuable. These gardens is the most valuable thing on earth, because it provides everything that your body kind of needs, and it's also like the most enjoyable place to be anyway. You can work on a laptop in the nature, I guess that's what I do every day. I work on my laptop, and I'm completely connected with all sorts of plants all around me. The jungle, it's amazing. And so I made that decision after investigating a long time ago. Now it takes time to kick in, and I was a little bit too aggressive. But what I said was that the most value right now on this planet is the land with sustainable ecology capacity. I have infinite water supply because essentially I'm on the top of the underground lake. So I have infinite water supply. Plus the natural cooling from underneath. This is why I barely need to, I'm using it right now because it's a hot day, but I barely need to use it. It's just anyway, right? I started to kind of move this way, but I made a lot of mistakes because I was kind of sometimes buffering backwards, because I was flipped to go the right way, and then the system would kind of flip me back, and it's like no, back, wrong, and then and then you got to flip back again. So there was a lot of that flip flopping that's going on, and I think that's natural to transition to accustom to the other. You don't go flip and you never turn back. I don't know, maybe you can, that would be fucking amazing, but I think it's more likely is that you flip, you come back, you flip, you more, and then becomes your natural way of being, and so you become better and better just maintaining that type of flow, right? So that should give you a lot of relief that you don't have to prove anything outside of you and live the most obnoxiously easy life possible. That will make you do the things that you love, and that's the whole point. So you don't do the will of God, you do the will of yourself, your soul, what your soul wants to do, and your soul wants to just create and play. And so you protect your life so you're capable of creating and playing permanently to the rest of your life. You got to protect that little bubble of being able to create and play, and that's it, and have no external worries and concerns. Okay? So always go around it, go around everything. In the business, when you run the business, there's a call for conflict. Go around it. Use all that energy that you didn't waste on the conflict on something even better, 10 times better. And so everybody's going to end up smelling your dust, And that's the right way of being. You just, it's normal, because when you are living on that type of edge of life, everybody's going to be sniffing your butt. But you have to be okay with that, okay? You have to be okay with that. But you gotta keep on flying. You gotta keep on flying. People are gonna, try to do all sorts of things for you not to have the best life possible. But you gotta keep on flying. So fuck this shit and do the best. What you enjoy the most. You see, that should give you a bit of a relief, and say, all right, let's see what my life would give me if I'm not trying to prove no bullshit and just externally do the best, the most enjoyable thing possible. I don't mean hedonistic or ascetic pleasures. I really mean you see, would you really allow yourself to do in your soul? You won't need to do anything from the ego. Because normally you probably want like a good long-term relationship, maybe a wife or a husband. It depends, of course. It depends on the age or whatever, or boyfriend, girlfriend, but like something that is real connection, that both of you could like enjoy life together. Like that is what your soul wants. Your soul does not want um occasional sexual, you know, relations and whatnot. That's all ego. That's all backwards again. You know. So yeah, I'm not interested. Honestly, I'm. I. In, I realized that that's what allows my energy to backflow, and I had to cut off this thing as well. Um, where I was like, I'm not going to do anything with a woman unless I see that she could be my wife. That not necessarily that's going to be the case, but like I would not engage with anybody that I don't see that they could potentially be my wife. That's my cutoff. If I see that like no, she couldn't be my wife, I wouldn't have her as my wife, then it's complete and total no on any kind of romance. But friends, sure. No, but seriously, like when you see a woman with two kids and recently divorced, that is a good friend to have, you know, not a girlfriend. So to see like a lot of men, I know a lot of men make this mistake because it's like the pattern of life, You're presented with this temptation of like, oh look, you know, and then what do? You sell your soul and you don't say like no, but that's not what my soul wants. My soul wants this. My ego may want this, but no, you're gonna have to say no. Your ego's gonna have to not get that and get upset, and that's when you're gonna bring you inside to face that thing. You face that thing. That's where the whole alchemy consciousness calibration comes into picture, and you come on the other side much more light inside of you now, because you dealt with that thing inside, and now that allows you to focus on the most positive thing outside and dream about the most positive thing. You dream about the most freaking positive thing, make that thing to be the best thing, like most obvious thing for you in your life. Okay. That's the difference between the belief in God and being with God. And being with God is not an intentional like, oh, let me just sit here and be with God for a few minutes. That's still believing in God. It's the flow of consciousness. This is why the one person may say like, well, I believe in God, and I'm saying I believe in God, but the flow of consciousness is the opposite. The energy flow is the opposite. And often, like when two people like that meet, when the energy flow is the opposite, there's this immediate kind of contrast, like energy contrast happens that like creates that feeling of like like energy is just not happening, and it takes like it's try to, because their energy flowing the opposite of the way your energy is flowing, it creates that thing, and then but you gotta remain strong and remain in your energy flow, so that their negative energy flow does not take you out of it, and they either can't take that much light, because that's what light happens when that energy flows like that, and then they will leave your sight. Man, I've seen this happen. They cannot. Do you understand? And then I also look at them as like, I know, motherfucker, all of your intentions, you're going with this fucking ego shit, and okay, whatever, have fun, but you ain't, you can let that shit go at any point and just be fucking real. But okay, if that's what you want to do, fucking do it. Because I'm not stopping it. Because that would be stupid. And because that would be taking me off my throne again. You see what I'm trying to say? So that's my casual Friday talk. Okay, so that just proves this point of that consciousness is bidirectional. That is really there's a way of life that is in one direction or the other direction. I always had that intuition. I always had this feeling. It's like, okay, I know I'm on this planet. I can see how the life is moving, but this cannot be it. This cannot be. This is fucking Matrix. This is not base reality. There's got to be base reality too, where I'm fucking super happy. You see, this is why I say, like, yeah, you are super happy because you're enjoying everything. You get even the pleasures outside of you and the joy inside of you, and you are super happy. And don't fucking believe in this thing that this reality is not here to make you happy. It is here to make you freaking happy. But the contrast is there so you could know what you want. You can live so freaking happy on this planet. And there's gonna be the other side of it, like with the most miserable people who believe in God and and follow their bullshit and that type of backward ass flow of consciousness. So yeah, this is it. This is why I like to talk about consciousness from consciousness perspective and not about religion, because consciousness can describe this holographic phenomenon of consciousness. I said consciousness like 5 times in the last 20 seconds. But anyway, and not only that, it can point to say like, hey, here's what's going on. Like, but it's so honest because it just basically says like, hey, you are going backwards right now. Here's how to go for normal way. You're flipped right now. It doesn't say like, oh, change this a little bit, change that a little bit. It says like, no, your entire motion of consciousness is backwards. That's how honest it is. Because as soon as you flip, it flip. This is what the Krishnamurti was talking about. It takes no time. Because if it takes time to change, you're still in a motion of mind. He was talking about the flippening. He was talking about instantaneous flip and the energy is flowing the right way. It can flip back, but it's the momentary process. It is not waiting. It is not improving yourself internally. There's a way to move internally in the most elegant and graceful way when you face all of those things the right way. And that is it. Once you learn that, then the life starts. Until that, you're not born. You're not in a base reality. Because, look, you may see like the wars happening on the other side of the world and whatever. And I live in the paradise here. I live like a king. You may say, well, fuck, you're not really in a very fair situations like all these other people, doing this. I do like all of the internal work that they're not doing it. And my external life, it gets easier and easier because of this. You see? And so I was wondering, why can't I stabilize this, this alchemical thing? Because why is it always flipping back? And I freaking realized that that I could have even better life than I have right now. I want more. I want to be able to live in between Texas and here. That's what I want. And I want to make a real estate business here and there. And that's how I'm going to survive, just real estate. It's plenty. And develop real estate that is sustainable. But also I see that I have to belong more to the corporate side as well, which this is what I'm going to be doing right now, just going back into corporate, because to balance it out a little bit, because I went into this too much, and it's like I made a lot of mistakes. I trusted too many people, and now I'm just gonna have people who are really hardcore people who who already see this as just a natural way of life. That's not even a question, like it's their consciousness is moving in the right way. That's what I mean. I don't mean just people saying that like, oh yeah, that sounds really good, and just again, just believing, but the consciousness is not moving this way. They're not thinking of like, okay, what would be like right now in this moment? Like, I would like to see if I can sustain myself food wise here. Like, what would it take? And I really want all this variety that they want. What do I like? Okay, I like salmon. I like this. I like this. Like honestly, like what ideal diet you would have? It's like, can I have this all around me and having somebody take care of that, and finance them with rental income and whatnot? And can I have like this whole process go up happening around me without my intervention? Just so I can create this system, and then the system runs by itself and it produces food for me, and everybody's happy. You see? That's how I think. And that's what kind of people I want here. That's how they should think. Not that you abandon their digital life. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to do that. You still do all your corporate stuff. But on one hand, you do your corporate stuff because I'm talking about this, what would be the ideal thing externally. And it would be like living in a paradise garden. That would be ideal, and having all the technology helping you out to do that, and participating in technology, participating in the digital world too, making virtual videos, making art, creating stuff, and living in that digital world, in a good best side of the digital world, because you got to pick the best shit in the digital world too, and don't worry about all the crap there. Just pick the best stuff and live there. Let all the other crap be there. You see? It doesn't concern you. Yeah, okay, but this is now part of my culture. Look, this is how we watch movies here. We don't use Netflix here. We don't have any kind of nonsensical subscriptions, ads bombarding us. We use our own consciousness. We decide through synchronicity what kind of movie we want to watch, and we download that movie. And if that movie is made by independent author, you pay them directly and you watch on their website. And if that's not available, you do not feed the corpus. Right? Because to me, the healthy corpus is the one that deals with the tangible thing. The unhealthy one is the one that deals with information. The corpus is never supposed to be, the information is supposed to be the community thing. The hardware is supposed to be corporate thing. That's part of how I would structure my life. I don't let in my domain, in my life, to have these software corporations to have any kind of influence on my reality at all. And I minimize their, use in my life. And we say, well, it's much easier, just have a Netflix and pay this subscription fee and whatever and so all that stuff. No, because that's already the backwards ass flow. I want to decide what kind of movie I want to watch. And usually it's nothing that what they suggest there, nothing that they would program you to do or to watch. You see? So, dude, go ahead or do that. Go ahead and live the best life possible. Like I'm going to ramp the shit up in in my case. I'm going to have even better life. Whatever you want externally, and see like, how can I make my life easier? Do that. That's how I think. I think in systems. I say, okay, what kind of system I can create? Can everything just taken care of around me automatically, and I create those systems. And so I put my energy behind creating a system in my environment, and where everything's taken care of. I cannot be part of it. I cannot be managing the system. I only build the system and I let it run. That's how I prefer to live my life, if I'm completely honest with myself. 1 second. We're back, guys. That's my casual Friday. Guns. I'm a little bit drier today than usual. I'd like to have a little bit more meat. It's okay though. Okay, guys. I hope that we understand each other of what the fuck is happening. And if you go this way, a lot of friends and family may not go this way at all. Not that you cannot like hang out with them. You don't have any kind of animosity towards it. It's just it's free will, right? Like they can choose what they want. If they want to be in your energy, they can be in your energy. You don't shutting the door to anybody. But they have to be in your energy. They cannot lie, cheat, do all this bullshit ass shit. They cannot, worry about nothing. They gotta flip. They have to get flashed and enter this freaking world, and you're like, whoa, and like, all right, can I stay here? Of course. And that's it, But you're gonna have to carry your own weight in terms of your emotions. You can't dump that on other people. You can share that, and deal with it together, which makes much easier when you deal with it together. And it's like, well, that's all you gotta do to live a life like that? Yeah, that's all you gotta do. Is you really have to just go inside and face all the things that you have to face, and then all the gifts will be given to you. And that's how you live your life on this planet. Which means that this process that's backwards that's happening is the motion of consciousness that don't waste the iota of your energy of trying to stop it. In fact, the momentum that you're building on this, living this lavish life, is the best possible effect on the rest of the system. And if there is a kind of drag that you create by living the best possible life, then that is the best possible effect that you have on the system. You owe it yourself to have the most amazing life here. I saw Eckhart Tolle said like, oh, this place is not to make you happy. I don't know what he means. I'm sure he does not mean what he says. I don't know why he said it, because this place is to make you happy, because how the fuck would you know what is your soul desire unless it is shown something that is the opposite? You're here, the matrix is here, to show you what makes you happy, and then you go for that. You see? Unless you are fighting with it all the time. And it's like such an honesty, like, if you really ask somebody like, do you really like and enjoy going to these, for example, retreats? Does not feel like a freaking task that you gotta like fix something inside of you? Does not feel shit? And most of the people will say like, fuck yeah, it feels like shit, but what do I do about this? And then you say like, well, yeah, check this out. And you show them the 0 point. It's like, oh my god, I was making the whole fucking shit up. It's not, I don't need to do that shit. Yep, exactly. Oh, fuck. I just have to move in the right direction of consciousness, and that's it. That's why this mode is instant or not at all. You see what I'm trying to say? The enlightenment is not something that you seek. Enlightenment is something that you are either living in light or out of it. Live in light, and you find the light inside you in the worst possible thing, and then you find the love outside you in the best possible thing. Okay? And that's how we live this bitch. Super, super happy. Like I said, coming here in the jungle, if everything would have worked out fine, fuck, it would be so dope. But it didn't work out fine, right? Like, so, like, it's okay. But now I'm honest with myself. Do I want to keep on pushing this? And the answer is like, nope. I want to take a break from all of this. I want to regroup, come back with new force, with new people, new vision, a ton of mana, and a lot of people here wanting to live like that. and then I come back again, full force. But if what would make me happy right now is chilling in US with my friends, that would make me happy. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I want to do podcasts here, but see, like, there's not a lot of people here. Nothing that much can be organized here, but we'll see what's possible. But I'd like to do podcasts in the States for sure. And I really want to meet real people. None of these phonies, none of these career people who do the God's work and shit like that. I like the people who are honest and they don't do the God's work. What they do is like what makes them happy. See, like, these are the best people. You understand? These are the best people. Souls doing their soul thing, not getting distracted from it, not getting distracted from the fact that there is a video game, that it is to make you super super happy. But you gotta play it right. That's all it's asking of you, is to play it right. And that, you see, it's not easy at the beginning, but once you get the momentum going, it becomes super easy. But there's a lot of things that you gotta let go. So like, well, do I enjoy how this person is treating me? It's like, no, not really. I don't even see like the real reason why that would even need to be the case. So it's nothing to do with me. And if the person chooses to kind of chill their balls and get down with the program, nope, that's not really what I want. And you look what's best for you. You don't have to accept nothing externally. Like the more you accept bullshit, the more you accept that negative thing that externally people do to you, the more you're not gonna living your happy life. You gotta make yourself happy. You gotta make that a priority. Externally, make yourself as happy as possible. Internally, face the worst shit possible, and you're gonna be alright. And then all the maniacism is gone. You live a happy life. But not as a hippie, as well. Too much inside and forget about the outside. You gotta do the outside shit too. You see what I'm trying? It's really about getting the hang of moving the energy in the right way. First, like, chemically, what's the worst thing right here? What's the most positive thing inside? Which is like your imagination. Fuck yeah. Well, I like that. And I'm getting more and more, getting a hang of this thing more and more. And I can see how it is, like, really positioning your consciousness in a way that just connecting the dots. I mentioned that before. It is about just mastering connecting the dots. And when you do that, then that's it. You're weaving the rainbow. Right? And like, even as a man, like, for you to say like, okay, I foresee the future. Here's what the best thing to do, how to be the most secure, most safe and sound, and live in the paradise when the whole world is, or the other side of the world is burning. And understand the nature of thinks that everybody made their choice, you made yours, and it's the same planet, but you went the paradise way and they went the hell way. And good riddance. That's why the people who just like oppose me and they don't see my intention, and they don't see that they're supposed to be contributing to this thing because it helps them too, because I'm just trying to be happy as a human being, and there's a way to be happy. And if they are opposing that, well, that's not my problem. They chose the other side. I'm not gonna go out there and try to stop them, because then I'm gonna lose my sight of what's the most important there is. And in fact, like in a long way, it's even better for them, because you don't let the system to deteriorate, because you're holding the light, which is your happiness, your bliss, your joy, your awesomeness, externally and internally. This is what you're supposed to be living all the time, happy all the fucking time, because you're connecting the right dots, and all that negativity is being placed on the right place of consciousness, and all positivity in the right. So you can be totally freaking happy right now in this Kali Mahayuga on a big scale, in 4.32 million year scale, 430,000 years of Kali Yuga. Like, we're not gonna fucking wait that shit out, right? So it's the darkest Yuga on the deepest level of time space right now. That's why the alchemy is the most difficult part. So we're not waiting for the Kali Yuga to end, because we don't have 400,000 years. We are using the Kali Yuga to discover the most light within ourselves, right? And the Dvapara Yuga that's happening on a 24 from a 5,000 year cycle is already getting better. It's not Kali Yuga, it's Dvapara Yuga, and it's on ascending. It's basically gonna get into Treta Yuga. It's on ascending cycle. It's not descending cycle side. So it's ascending. Things are getting better and better on the mind level. So things are becoming easier to manifest things, and there's more good things becoming here, right? But there's still the 50%. There's a challenge there. That's why there's that 50% challenge that you got to do internally, which is all part of your alchemical and the magic work. And when you do that, then your work is done. Your work is counteract the Kali Yuga on a big scale and Dvapara Yuga on a small scale. If you do that, then the rest of it, you correct for it, and the rest of it turns out to be Gold Age. You can live Gold Age right now. In fact, this is your responsibility and duty to live Gold Age right now. If you play the game right, you can have Gold Age right the fuck now. And it is how it feels. And I realized that I have to be like super obnoxious with this thing. It's like I need to find people who also want to be dope and chill and awesome, and be honest with themselves. Because when you move in this direction, then you're honest with yourself. You're like, that's what I want to do. That's what my soul desires. Like, do you want to save the world? That's the least fucking thing that I want to do. Thank God. All right, now that you leave everything to the way it's supposed to be, why don't you live the best life possible for your own self? See how it's the opposite of what the religious teaching? Okay? It's the opposite. So there is this real religion and this false religion, or there is this, because religion is like relighting. It's the real thing is when the people take it in a responsibility, and that is it, and don't rely from the external world. Like, it is the motion of consciousness, and this is like the way I see people. You have to understand how I see people. I don't see people as like necessarily NPCs. I see people like, is this an NPC? Can become real one? Can they turn online? If I chat them up and like crack a joke or whatever, like just being myself and having a good time because I see something funny going on, are they gonna also get down with the program and realize that this is all a joke and just have a good fucking time? And if they can, then that person was just running NPC mode and became real right there in that moment. I'm saying. So yeah, man, I did today 3 times a week exercise. Today, not today, this week. I don't know why I'm saying this. I guess I feel fit. I do feel fit because I did judo, and that freaking pushes your cardio like hell. Like nothing else. Nothing else ups your cardio like wrestling with a 200-pound man. You know? Or even 220, 240, whatever. You see what I'm trying to say? Damn, that fucking really like. I used to be. Now I kind of respect cardio a little more, but before, like, I never had the problems with the cardio for a few reasons. I also can stop having problems with the cardio. One of them is actually just doing more of the cardio. Just doing more of the stuff is because I adapt really quick. Like in 1 month my cardio can be really chingon. But yeah. What was I talking about? Cardio. Ah, yeah. That's why I feel fit. But also my muscles are sore. But that's okay. I'm getting massage tomorrow, and it's gonna be fucking dope. Damn, I'm like I do metabolic diet right now because I like the way it makes me feel. It really boosts all of my hormones, like growth hormones. I know the people do like fasting shit like that. I don't really do it unless I don't have an appetite. But what I do is that I eat like maybe um, um, 3 to 4 times a week. I used to do it 5, but now I think 3 or 4 is better. Low carbs. I just have low carb days, 3 to 4. And sometimes, like when I have low carb day, I don't have any appetite. So then it becomes kind of fasting naturally, right? Because if the sugar is not flowing in my blood, it's not stimulating to eat more and eat. So I'm not in that motion of carving myself up. The body's kind of cool and using the fat for energy, and so I have like that mode that use fat for energy. And then sometimes on the weekends I go fuck like the most delicious thing, but still healthy. I like acai bowl. I like sushi. You know, all healthy stuff. Sometimes pizza, but like on a very rare occasion. If I really carb up, I carb up on like healthy stuff because I mean acai has like loaded with the antioxidants. It's one of the most strongest antioxidant foods out there, and you just eat bunch of that, you know, and it makes me feel amazing. Like it does. Like nothing makes me feel as amazing. Like the next day I wake up after just smoking, let's say, some weed and eating a lot of acai ice cream. I wake up. I was like, fuck, I feel so new. I feel so fucking new. You know? So like even there, like I prefer things that are like of a highest quality, but also the high rank in deliciousness also. You know? Because you can have delicious something, but like really no good quality. So I try not to have that. But I don't say no if somebody's having a pizza once in a while. No, I'm not complete purist, you know. So yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about food here. Anyway, belief in God is evil. Being with God is good. Period. End of the game. Like end of the discussion of which way. It's like it's you really pick the light side or you pick the dark side. But the thing is that when you pick the light side, you don't give a shit about the dark side. There's no war. There's no you can live like peace right now. Like imagine like on this planet, right? and you freaking dare to live the most peaceful, the most paradise life possible. That's what I'm talking about. It's completely possible. Because if you, in this moment, like if you really look deep down and as everything as just like a consciousness experience, and if in this moment you are in a fucking gold age, here's how amazing you feel. You are in a gold age. You gotta let everything go because this is the only thing that's real. You already are in paradise. But because you are in paradise, because you unlocked the paradise, you figured that shit out. But you're in paradise for real, not through the affirmations, not through that seeking paradise, because that's what when they're doing the will of God, that's what they're doing. They're seeking paradise. But the paradise is just gonna happen like by you just trying to live the most pleasant life externally, and the you're facing the worst internally. But like when I say the worst, like when you put that attention in between the worst and the best, you get that joy. And it's that place where you're just like poof. This is what Krishnamurti would really try to communicate with people. That is like instantly or not at all. And when it flips, poof, you're in the base reality. Flips back, poof, now back in the matrix. It is like that. Poof, base reality, back in the matrix. So just do your best to freaking stay in the base reality. Just keep that as stable as possible. And I think that's gonna be, if you keep that past 2029, that's gonna be your natural state. You're not even gonna think about the matrix way. To you, it's gonna be just like, oh, there's just one possibility, just one parallel universe on this planet that reality is like that, you know. But in your reality, it's not like that. And the more you live your life like this, the more you understand what they are up to naturally. Because if you're up to if you live such an amazing life, then somebody is supposed to on the other side, because it's Dvapara Yuga, must be doing something the opposite, you know. But less opposite if you are moving this way. It's less of that, less of that, less of that. It's like a tail end process, not front end. You don't confront external problem, you confront internal problem, and you just confront the best possible option externally to do, and you turn away that attention that creates reality to the best thing, away from the worst thing. But somehow you will always be aware of what they are up to, not because you externally heard, but internally in your consciousness you're gonna be aware of what's the opposite of what you are living. Okay? And so I really mean when I say select your base reality. This isn't just entertainment video. It's enjoyment video. Should I go dancing? I probably should go dancing. I'm gonna get a little high. I'm gonna go tickle some ladies, you know what I mean? I kid. Anyway, have a good weekend. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.